Hey guys, this is Austin. This is the Corsair One Pro, a $3,000 gaming PC, but is it worth it? Big shout out to Corsair for sending this out a little bit early. So the Corsair One launched a few months ago, however this is the new Pro model with a GTX 1080 Ti. So while it's not a huge box, what we're getting here is a very powerful gaming PC, and that is actually really small. Okay. So one of the things you should know about the Corsair One is that it is water cooled, which is part of the reason why they were able to get so much hardware in such a uniquely shaped chassis. The footprint of the One is actually smaller than a lot of gaming consoles. What you're trading off here is that it's just a very tall system, but I think for a lot of PCs that's really not going to be an issue. It also is pretty much entirely made of metal. It's so heavy. Before we get too far into it, let's see what else we have in the box, which doesn't seem like anything at all. Yep, a power cable. They sure give you a lot of great accessories with your brand new $3,000 gaming PC. Oh wait, hang on. I'm sorry, I was wrong. There is a dual band Wi-Fi antenna, so you know, solid accessory pack. So I am really curious to see what's inside the Corsair One. From the front, you don't have a whole lot. There's basically just a power button as well as a USB port and HDMI, presumably to make VR setups easier. But what's interesting is both on the left and right side, you can see that this thing has massive radiators. I gotta say, I actually like the look of this a lot. Now, of course, Corsair's made more than their fair share of RGB stuff, but with this, we're getting something that's a little bit more understated. On top, you have a fairly large metal grate with what I assume is a 200mm fan. There's also this button, which when I press it, the whole top panel actually comes off. So it's still cabled in here. Of course, I get a new PC and I'm literally taking it apart immediately. Inside, you'll find the 500 watt small form factor power supply, as well as the rear of the graphics card. So what's interesting is, it actually has all the HDMI and display ports cables coming out of it, because obviously no one's plugging stuff into the top of the system. Move around back, and not only do you have the power lead, but also all the video outputs that are being routed from the top of the case. And it also looks like it has a fairly standard looking motherboard here, which is also where you plug in the Wi-Fi antenna. As a $3,000 gaming PC, you would hope that it has pretty solid specs, and it most certainly does not disappoint. Now, one of the nice things about the One Pro is that it's actually really easy to work on. So press one button to pull off the fan as well as the shroud, take out two screws, and you have access to the full system. Inside, it has an Intel Core i7-7700K, and what's nice about this thing is that it is going to be fully water cooled with its own dedicated radiator. You can also get a look at the MITx motherboard as well as the 32GB of memory that's installed. Now, I really do appreciate just how easy it is to actually work on this. It's also rocking a 480GB NVMe SSD as well as a 2TB hard drive. Take two more screws off the top and we get access to the graphics card. So Corsair is going all out here. So this is the GTX 1080 Ti, and again, it's also going to have a custom water cooler on it. Now, what's interesting about the design here is that there's going to be a thin 240mm radiator on either side of the system. So what essentially it's doing is it's using this 200mm fan on the top to pull air up and in through the system and exhaust it out the top, kind of like the Mac Pro. I've got to give Corsair big props. This is a very thoughtfully designed system, but of course the big question is, can it actually game? Spoiler alert, with a GTX 1080 Ti and a Core i7, to start with gaming, we have GTA 5. Now here, running on the LG ultra-wide monitor at 3840x1600, with basically all the settings cranked up, the 1080 Ti has no problem running this at anywhere between 80 to 100 frames per second, which of course should be no surprise considering that this is like a $750 graphics card. Now the Corsair One is generally pretty quiet. You can hear that it's spinning up a little bit right now under full load, but considering that this is a very small form factor water-cooled PC, it's not bad. Moving on, we have Dirt 4. So Codemasters always does a good job with their PC games, and this is no exception. Here, running at full resolution and pretty much all the settings totally cranked up, we're anywhere between 50 to 60 frames per second. And I've got to say, with that 1080 Ti and this huge, nice display, this is a really cool experience. So Ashes of the Singularity might not be the most popular game in the world, but it's one of my favorite games to benchmark new systems. So not only does it take advantage of DirectX 12, but it looks really nice. And here, with basically everything cranked to high settings at the full resolution, we're getting anywhere between 50 to 60 frames per second. A newer game that can definitely take advantage of the Corsair One Pro is Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Now, running on the ultra wide, we're getting anywhere between 60 to 70 frames per second on high settings. Not only does this game look great on the display, but almost more importantly, it really does go to show just how nice a game can look once you have some serious 1080 Ti power. So, is it worth it? At $3,000, this definitely is not a cheap system, and if you wanted to build a similar spec yourself, you would be able to save about $600. However, what you're giving up here is not only the small form factor case, but almost more importantly, all the water cooling that makes it all work. It's going to be difficult to build a small form factor system with this level of power almost regardless of price, and you also do get a 2-year warranty as well as the simplicity of being able to pull it out of the box and be good to go. There are also models of the Corsair One that are a bit cheaper and nowhere near as overkill, so if you're looking for a small form factor system like this, I've got to say it's a lot better than I expected. So, what do you guys think about the Corsair One Pro? Let me know in the comments below and I will catch you in the next one.